close your eyes for a second. Just picture this with me. You're not just looking at a screen. You are inside this, like, vibrant, dimly lit room. You can hear the soft chatter of voices in the distance, the shuffle of cards maybe, that really satisfying clink sound as you push chips across the table. And the dealer, a really friendly, animated figure, actually smiling right at you. You glance over, and another player's avatar could be anything, a robot, maybe some kind of secret agent pulls up a chair next to you, settles in for some blackjack. Feels pretty real, doesn't it? But here's the kicker. You're not in Vegas. Not even close. You're actually at home, probably in your living room, wearing one of those high-tech headsets, totally immersed in a virtual reality casino.
So that's the world we're diving into today. Virtual reality casinos, VR casinos. They get talked up as this, game-changing revolution in online entertainment, something way beyond what a normal website can do. But then almost in the same breath, you hear people dismissing them. Just a gimmick, right? A tech novelty that won't really last.
So the big question for you, listening in, the one we really want to unpack in this deep dive is, which is it? Are VR casinos genuinely the future? Or are they just sort of a flashy trend that's going to fade out?
And that's exactly our mission for you today. We're going to pull apart the main arguments, both sides of the coin. We'll sift through what makes them feel so unique, so appealing, almost revolutionary to some people, and then look at the other side, the really significant hurdles they face that make others think, it's just a novelty. We're not just going to list pros and cons, though. We want to explore the deeper stuff, the nuances of a technology that feels pretty new still, but hints at some really big possibilities down the road.
You know what's so interesting about that picture you painted earlier, and really the core of this whole thing? It's what the industry calls presence. That seems to be the main differentiator, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because if you compare it to your standard online gambling site, well, you're just staring at a flat screen, clicking buttons.
Yeah.
It works, sure,
Yeah.
but it totally lacks that visceral, that I am actually here feeling.
Exactly, that immersion.
And for a lot of players, that sense of connection, actually being in it, that's been the missing piece online. So for VR casinos to really take off this feeling of presence, it has to be, well, everything.
It really does. And what's fascinating is how presence changes the whole interaction. It's not just about better graphics. It's a totally different way of engaging. It's not like watching a game. It's like living in it for a bit. In a VR casino, you don't just, click on Blackjack Table 3 from a menu. You might actually walk through these big, sort of glittering digital lobbies. You navigate the space yourself.
Like you're really exploring.
Exactly. And you can talk to the other avatars there, have real-time chats, just like you would at a physical table. And when you get to the games, you physically sit down in a slot machine. You might pull a virtual lever with your hand. Or you take a seat at poker, watch the virtual cards slide across the felt, maybe even catch another avatar's eye. That level of interaction, having that kind of agency within the virtual world, it just makes for a much, much deeper experience, more engaging. It takes something that could be quite solitary and makes it feel genuinely social, tangible even. It's the direct opposite of that flatness you mentioned.
Okay, that vision is, yeah, it's incredibly appealing, bringing that Vegas glamour right into your house. But, and there's always a but with new tech, isn't there?
Always.
There's a flip side, the practical challenges that maybe get lost in all the excitement. So for all the cool factor of presence, what are the big things holding this back from being, everywhere right now?
You're right to ask that because, despite the allure, VR casinos hit some very real, very complicated walls. And that explains why they're still pretty niche. Let's break down a few of the big ones. First off, there's the classic problem, hardware cost.
Ah, yes, the headsets.
Exactly. They're getting cheaper, sure, but a really good VR setup, it's still a big chunk of change for most people. It's not like downloading an app. You need specific, often pricey gear. That's a huge barrier for mass adoption.
Right. So unless you're already into VR gaming, maybe?
Precisely. And the question becomes, can the mobile VR stuff, like the Meta Quest, really give you that super immersive James Bond and Monte Carlo vibe without needing a powerful computer? That's kind of a key point for it to go mainstream. Then number two, user comfort. This is a big one.
Yeah, wearing that thing on your head.
Right. Not everyone wants to wear a headset for hours on end. And think about gambling sometimes. People play for long stretches.
A marathon poker session, maybe?
Exactly. That's very different from playing a quick 20-minute VR game. Things like the headset's weight, the heat it generates, even for some people, motion sickness. That can all really ruin the immersion pretty quickly.
So the tech needs to get lighter, more comfortable.
Definitely. Though developers are exploring things, like using haptic feedback, vibrations, maybe not just in controllers, but elsewhere, or even environmental feedback inside the game world, trying to make it feel more full body and less like you're just wearing goggles.
That comfort factor is a really good point. Easy to forget when you're just thinking about how cool VR looks. But what about how it actually looks? We get promised these amazing virtual worlds. Do they really deliver that James Bond fantasy yet?
Not always, no. Not consistently. Some experiences are impressive, definitely. But often, the current graphics quality still has a bit of a way to go. Like one of our sources said, it doesn't quite feel like James Bond in Monte Carlo just yet.
Okay.
There's often this noticeable gap, right, between the dream of hyperrealism and what the tech can actually pump out right now. Environments might still look a little, maybe cartoony, or just not quite polished, and that can break that sense of presence they're working so hard to build.
Because rendering that level of detail in real time must be incredibly difficult.
Hugely demanding, yeah, especially for multiple users at once. And then, beyond just what the user sees and feels, there are massive developer challenges. Building these worlds is one thing, but making sure everything is fair and secure inside a completely virtual space where people are anonymous avatars, that's a whole other level.
All right, how do you stop cheating? Especially if someone could use external tools or something in VR.
Exactly. And maybe even more critical, how do you absolutely guarantee the randomness of the games? The RNG's random number generators.
The digital dice roll.
Yeah. How do you prove that's fair when the whole system is digital and the user can't really see inside it? Interestingly, some sources are pointing towards things like blockchain, distributed ledgers.
Oh, okay. How'd that work?
Well, imagine if every single dice roll, every card dealt, was recorded on a public, unchangeable record.
So total transparency.
Potentially, yes. It could actually build more trust than some traditional online casinos. But it also adds this huge layer of technical complexity for the developers.
Blockchain for fair gaming. Now that's an interesting angle. Goes beyond just the obvious tech issues. It suggests actual solutions. But then we bump into maybe the biggest monster of them all. Regulation. How on earth does a government even start to think about licensing, let alone monitoring, a casino that, like you said, technically exists in the cloud?
Yep.
Is anyone even trying to figure this out? Or is that regulatory nightmare still years away from having any kind of sensible approach?
That is the regulatory nightmare. And yeah, it's possibly the toughest nut to crack. Just imagine being a regulator. You need to license, monitor, tax this thing, but it has no physical address.
Right. Where is it?
Exactly. Which country's laws even apply? How do you check someone's age or identity when they're just an avatar? How do you enforce responsible gambling rules, like letting people ban themselves on a platform that crosses borders invisibly?
Wow. Yeah, that's complex.
It is. There's no single accepted answer yet. Some places are trying things out. Malta, for example, has been looking into regulating blockchain gambling, which might offer some ideas. But it needs countries working together, innovative legal minds, just to get a handle on something so fluid. And that complexity definitely slows things down, keeps a lot of the big gambling companies watching from the sidelines for now.
Okay, so when we weigh it all up, you've got this incredible potential of presence on one side, and then these really tough, complicated hurdles on the other: cost, comfort, graphics, security, and this massive regulatory puzzle. Where does that leave VR casinos overall? Are they stuck in this niche? Or are we genuinely seeing the start of something big? Our sources seem to lean one way. It's definitely niche now, but it is absolutely not going away.
No.
This tech is like digging its heels in, slowly improving, setting the stage for, well, maybe something huge later on.
Yeah, what's really fascinating here is that even with all the current problems, the potential for future growth is enormous. And it's directly linked to solving those problems we just talked about. We're not talking sci-fi here. We're talking about a logical progression driven by ongoing technological advancements.
Like Moore's Law, but for headsets.
Sort of. As the hardware keeps getting cheaper, especially those standalone mobile VR devices becoming more powerful, those expensive headsets could become as normal as smartphones are today. That just blows the entry barrier wide open for millions. And at the same time, you'll see improved graphics. Bridging that gap we mentioned, getting closer to that James Bond experience. Think truly photorealistic places, avatars with subtle expressions, physics that feel totally real. That will make the virtual experience almost indistinguishable from the real thing. Maybe even better in some ways, you could have casino environments that just couldn't exist in reality. Ultimately, yeah, VR casinos could really become that perfect bridge. You get the glamour of Vegas, like you said, but with the convenience of your living room.
Best of both worlds.
Truly hybrid. You get the social buzz, the atmosphere, the immersive thrill of being at a casino, but also the incredible ease and comfort of playing from wherever you want. Think about betting on the Super Bowl. Instead of just looking at odds on a website or watching on TV, imagine being virtually inside this roaring stadium, packed with digital fans. You feel the energy, you're high-fiving avatars from all over the globe when your team scores.
Okay, that's a whole different level of engagement.
It's a completely different dimension. It totally redefines what online interaction can even mean.
That is a seriously powerful and, yeah, compelling vision for the future, isn't it? It really reframes online.
Exactly. Now, it's important to be realistic. VR casinos aren't going to suddenly replace regular online gambling sites anytime soon. Online gambling, as we know it, is huge, it's established, and for many people, it serves a different, maybe more casual need.
Quick bet on the phone, maybe.
Right. But VR casinos, they are undeniable proof of where imagination and technology can take us. They show what's possible when we really push the limits of digital interaction. And maybe, just maybe, in 10 years, we'll look back at this time and say, you know, that thing that felt like a niche, maybe even a bit of a gimmick?
Yeah.
That was actually the start of something huge, a really profound shift in how we think about and engage with digital entertainment and commerce, too.
That's a really captivating thought to end on. We started this deep dive just imagining being at a virtual blackjack table, wondering, is this whole thing a revolution or just a trick? We've looked at that incredible pull of presence, that genuine feeling of being there, which really makes VR casinos stand out.
Yeah.
But we've also dug into the real-world obstacles, the practical stuff, cost, comfort, making sure the games are secure in the cloud, and that huge challenge of how you even regulate an industry that basically is online. And what seems clear is, yeah, they're niche now, for sure. But that potential, it's undeniable.
It's being pushed forward by tech getting better and better, and by people finding clever ways around these problems. It's this really interesting tension, isn't it, between where we are now and where this could go.
And that brings us right to a final thought, something for you to mull over. Given how these lines between physical and virtual spaces are blurring, how might our actual understanding of being there, or even participating in something, change? If whole industries, like a casino, can really exist just in the cloud, with no physical location, no traditional borders, what does that mean for how we interact in the future? With entertainment, sure, but also with shopping, with socializing. How does our whole perception of reality shift when the digital can feel just as real, just as engaging as the physical world around us? It's a huge question. It goes way beyond just casinos. It touches the very fabric of our increasingly digital lives. And it's definitely something we'll all be figuring out together in the years ahead.